Hey guys, it's the Diesel Queen here. As you know, I did receive a few components from Synergy over the course of the next few days while I wait on another tall jack stand to be able to support the frame for the long arm kit. We're going to be doing the steering components that Synergy sent me. We're going to be doing this step by step as per their manual, and I'm going to explain all the steps in their manuals. And yeah, this is going to be a full-on installation procedure, so let's get to it. Alright, we're going to be covering first how to install the track bar. So what I did initially was I lined it up with the old track bar to make sure that I had the adjustable end at the right angle. Depending on your vehicle, it might need to be adjusted 180 degrees. Once I had it close to the same length, eyeballing it, I then installed it into the truck, the lower joint first. This was kind of hard to line up because that bracket is kind of pinched together, but I suggest lubing that rubber pieces up a little bit to get it in there, but once it's in, you can reuse the stock hardware. After that, you can get the upper end installed. I did lube this end because I learned from the first end. I had to use a ratchet strap to kind of help me hold it up in place there, because I was also struggling to get this end in as well. So, because my truck already has a drop bracket, I had to loosen this bolt to be able to fit this up in here. But I loosened this and now it slides pretty much right in. So, we're gonna after you get that close, they suggest to use this adjusting sleeve to get the end a little bit more lined up with the bolt hole. If you have to use a ratchet strap to pull the frame, you can. The thread should be equal showing on the black forging and the silver adjustment sleeve. I'll get into the final adjustments in a different video, but there is another note that I'd like to say, that you cannot exceed 1.75 inches from the track bar end to the end of the threads on the shank. So that's important. All right, now we're going to be getting into installing the drag link and the tie rod. So the very first component we're going to install is the tie rod. There is an initial adjustment on this. Adjust the passenger side tie rod, which is the non-double adjuster side, so that the grease zerk is 2 1/4 inches from the end of the forging. At least close. You might not get it exactly perfect because you do have to have the threads pointed in a specific direction to make sure that your pinch bolt brackets are facing the right way. Once you get that adjusted, you can then install the passenger side. You want to position the bar so that the bent part of the tie rod points forward so it clears the diff cover. The double adjuster should be on the driver's side and the pinch bolt should be on the back of the tie rod. After that, you want to torque your castle nuts down to the specification of 70 foot-pounds. And then further tightening them to align your cotter pin holes. You never want to loosen them to line up the holes. You always want to tighten. That's important. This is the hardware that I got for. Once you get that installed and torqued, then you can install the pinch bolts. Those actually torque to 90 foot-pounds, but we're not going to torque them down quite yet. Well, you can on the passenger side, but you want to leave the driver's side loose, and then you are going to measure from grease zerk to grease zerk. Now, if you watched the disassembly video, when you disassembled this, you should have kept a measurement note of the original tie rod grease zerk to grease zerk, and then you just adjust this with their double adjustment nuts on the driver's side. You adjust it to the specification that is listed that you saved, and then once you get that adjusted, then you will torque that pinch nut down and bolt down to 90 foot-pounds. You're trying to get a toe in of an 1/8 inch, but I did not have the adjuster plates yet, so I was waiting until I got the tires on to do that measurement completely. This just gets you close. I'll cover adjustments in a different video. You should be taking this to an alignment shop anyways once you're done with it. Alright, now we're going to be covering the drag link. To start off with, the instructions want you to verify that the tie rod ends are installed on the correct sides of the drag link. To do this, you need to remove the boots and make sure that the single pane tie rod end is at the end of the drag link that's installed in the tie rod, which would be the non-adjustable side, or the side that doesn't have the adjuster on it. The regular tie rod end should be on the pitman arm side with the double adjuster. The easiest way to see the single pane forged edge is if you take the boot off, it's like a rectangle around the tie rod end instead of a complete fully movable like circle. Once you figure that out and you verify that, then you want to install this onto the tie rod first and then get it installed onto the pitman arm. It is important to note that if you do have a truck that is under 3.5 inches of lift, you do want to thread that non-adjuster side all the way down before you install this. But my truck has 6 inches of lift, so I did not do that. When you're aligning the pinch bolts, you want to make sure that the drag link side that is on the tie rod is facing forward. The pinch nut near the pitman arm will be parallel to the ground. Now we'll be covering the steering stabilizer bracket and clamp that came with this kit. I will be using a new factory steering stabilizer. You want to set, now this is just like any hydraulic cylinder. You want to bolt it up on the end that is not on the rod end of it. And when you go to install this and figure out where you want your bracket, you want to fully extend it and then push it in about 1/8 of an inch. This is just making sure that wherever it's installed, it's not going to completely bottom out. This is installed at full lock on the driver's side. So this should be where the cylinder will be when it is the most extended. And to keep it from bottoming out and damaging it, you want to make sure it's pushed in a little bit so it does not completely bottom out the cylinder. Now when you are positioning this bracket with the U-bolts, you just want to make sure that you don't have any binding. So there's a lot of free range of where you could place this bracket or how it's placed on the tie rod, but the biggest and most important thing is to make sure that it is not binding at all. Once you get this mocked up, you really want to make sure by turning the wheel to full lock both directions that there is no binding. You want to get this pretty snug with the U-bolt so it doesn't move when you try to test it out, but it is very important to make sure that there is no binding at full lock driver's side or full lock. And as you can see, I actually just watched this video because I was doing this by myself to verify that there's no binding and it doesn't look like it's bottoming out on either, full locks. So it looked pretty good to me. So after that, you want to torque everything down to specification. Double check your torque specifications for everything. All the torque specifications are listed in Synergy's instructions, and they do give you printed instructions when you buy these kits, but they are also all online as well. I will not be covering the exact adjustments in this video. Personally, I do not trust myself to get all of the measurements exactly right. You can do this by yourself with Synergy's kit for adjusting everything. I took it to the dealership and had them align it when I was done. The only thing I adjusted before I left for the dealership was to make sure the toe in was at least close. So this actually made my truck drive much better, and I'm hoping the next video you guys see will be the long arm kit for the control arms. But yeah, thanks for watching.